Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I will be giving you guys my final official 2024 Atlantic hurricane season forecast. Now that we're approaching the peak of the season, we still have a good chunk of the season to go, but we're getting closer and closer to that halfway point really. And so I want to give you my final official updated hurricane season forecast for this year, taking into account what we've already had up to this point and what could happen moving forward through the end of the season and at the end of November. So moving into the now updated through now the official 2024 Atlantic hurricane season forecast from all the different major agencies. You can see they've given their updated forecast through July and now into August. NOAA updated their forecast back in the beginning of August to say they're expecting roughly around the same exact as what they were calling for back in May. Just brought down the named storm total down just slightly with the high end amount, but they're still expecting between 17 to 24 named storms, 8 to 13 hurricanes. That's no change from their May forecast, and 4 to 7 major hurricanes, which is also no change from their May forecast. Now, Colorado State University, which put out their updated forecast in August, they had another one back in July, so they kind of had each month they updated it. So Colorado State University is, as of the beginning of August, is calling for 23 named storms, 12 hurricanes, and 6 major hurricanes. And so that is roughly around, like kind of in between to near the same as what they were calling for back in the beginning of July and back in the beginning and middle of June, towards the beginning of the season, where they were calling for 23 named storms, 11 hurricanes, 5 majors. And then in July, they were calling for 25 named storms, 12 hurricanes, and 6 majors. So they're calling for only 23 named storms, so they brought it back down to what they were calling for back in June, just because of the kind of somewhat light amount of activity we've had to this point, even though we've had already a major hurricane and everything. But like relatively up to this point, we've had pretty a light amount of activity, and there doesn't seem to be this huge uptick we're about to see in activity as we get through the end of August and into September. There may be like we may see like one or two systems maybe spin up towards the end of the month into the beginning of September, but it's not like what we saw last year at this time, where the National Hurricane Center was monitoring like 5 or 6 different areas of interest that were likely to form or potentially to form into tropical cyclones around this time and heading into the beginning of September. So that's really the key difference up to this point, is we're really not seeing that huge signal that everything's really about to just explode and go off. Now, I mean, of course, that can all quickly change, but as of right now, kind of the general model guidance and everything hasn't really been too bullish or excited about that type of thing about to happen. So it's kind of interesting, and part of that is the current ENSO, the El Nino Southern Oscillation. We were expected originally to enter a La Nina phase of the ENSO, which would help to increase the general amount of hurricane activity in the Atlantic by decreasing the amount of shear and dry air. But we've just generally stayed in kind of a neutral or cool neutral phase up through this point. And so you can see as of right now, we've gotten very close at certain points, especially back in the very end of July, very beginning of August. But now we've kind of warmed back up a bit, and now we're currently at negative 0.269 degrees Celsius in that region. So it seems like it's really taken a lot longer for that potential La Nina to really take hold and help the hurricane season possibly become more active. Now, the most recent ENSO forecast is calling for us to still get to the La Nina phase, but not until we're really most likely into the September to November timeframe, which is really basically like the very peak of the season through the end of the season. So, you know, that they're giving it around like a 66% chance of that happening in that time, and then we're kind of staying in La Nina all the way through, potentially all the way through the beginning months of next year and into the peak of this upcoming winter before we possibly change back to neutral. But yeah, I mean, we were supposed to really be in La Nina ever since like July, basically, or maybe the end of June even. So we're kind of running a couple months at least behind schedule with it. So that's really what's been part of the key factor of why this hurricane season really hasn't seen that crazy uptick in activity, especially now that we've gotten through most of August. And typically once we've gotten into August, we would expect to really see a huge uptick in activity, since we're really starting to approach the peak of the season. Now, the current Atlantic sea surface temperatures really it's not an issue for if a tropical cyclone does form. That's not going to be an issue for it to really be able to organize and strengthen, because really across the board through the whole basin, we're looking at sea surface temperatures of at least 27, 28 degrees Celsius. The whole Caribbean is at least like 29 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius. And then the Gulf of Mexico is the true warmest part of the basin right now, where it's really maxing out the scale, where a lot of that part of the basin is 30, 31, possibly even up to like 32 degrees Celsius. So that's getting into like the mid to upper 80s degrees Fahrenheit. So, I mean, if the system gets into that part of the Atlantic basin to really strengthen, and there's minimal wind shear and dry air, it can really take off and explode in intensity. But this isn't the only part that really goes into a tropical cyclone being able to intensify, because we've seen throughout the season up to this point a large amount more of the Saharan dust coming in from Africa across the basin. So there's a lot more dust, dry air, and even wind shear a little bit more than usual for this time of year through the Caribbean, Gulf, Southwest Atlantic, even into parts of the main development region here. So it's been interesting for sure. Like, it's kind of odd that like the best kind of atmospheric conditions for any point in the hurricane season has been when we had Beryl, where Beryl was really able to rapidly intensify, become a Category 5, the record earliest Category 5 on record, beating Emily from back in 2005. And that whole atmospheric situation it was in was perfect for it to just continue to strengthen and feed off really just the warm waters of the Caribbean and the Gulf. I mean, it did deal with some shear as it got into the Western Caribbean, and into the Gulf, but I mean, it still was a very powerful, fairly long-lasting system. So it's kind of strange that we had like the best conditions for any tropical cyclone to really form and intensify, and rapidly intensify and get strong, really that early in the season, and we haven't really seen that anymore up to this point. So with that in mind, my first official forecast for the season was 24 named storms, 14 hurricanes, 5 majors. With the amount of activity we've seen up to this point, which has been 5 total named storms, 3 hurricanes, 1 major hurricane, and what's been going on lately with the atmosphere and moving forward, I've brought my named storm and hurricane forecast down. I've kept the major hurricane forecast the same, because I mean, I think we'll still probably hit 5 total majors, just because of just how warm, especially the Caribbean and the Gulf especially are. And as we get into the later the season, a lot of that activity shifts into those parts of the basin where that's like really the warmest waters of the basin for systems to really feed off of. But I brought my named storm total down from 24 to 20. I have a very hard time seeing us honestly exhaust the list this season now and get into the new auxiliary list. Total hurricanes, I brought it down from 14 to 11. I think we'll see like a little less amount of hurricanes, but because of that warm water, and maybe if we get into a more favorable environment for tropical cyclones to form as we get through the peak and into the latter half, the end of the season, and that atmosphere gets better for tropical cyclones to form and intensify, we could still get a decent amount of hurricanes in the end, up to maybe 11, I think. And obviously, I just said 5 major hurricanes. I think we still could realistically hit that mark. I don't see us getting up to like the 7 major hurricanes NOAA's, like at the high end of NOAA's forecast is calling for, or anything. And even, I don't know if we really even get up to like the 23 named storms that Colorado State University is now calling for, so it's definitely been a kind of an odd season up to this point, to say the least, with the kind of crazy start we had to now very, very kind of quiet conditions going on now, and not really seeing much of possible huge uptick in activity moving forward. But I mean, I don't know, we'll see. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with me? What are your guys' updated forecasts? Comment down below what you guys think the rest of the hurricane season has in store. What are your guys' final or possibly final hurricane season forecast for the Atlantic this year. Do you guys think we'll still get up to like 20 named storms or higher? Do you think we'll have 10 plus hurricanes? Do you think the 5 major hurricanes is still too high, or do you think that's about right? What are you guys' forecasts? Comment down below. Let's have a nice lively discussion down there. Like the video, subscribe for more content like this as we continue through the rest of the hurricane season and the rest of the year. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.